You ever do a live stream and feel really stupid because you didn't put the microphone on? And I'm just looking right now. Oh, good, the microphone's on. Yeah, I did an entire live stream about why I love Jurassic Park as a story, and I didn't have on any audio. So we're going to do that again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Story by Joe. Who am I? A little bit about me. I'm a random attempt at a content creator. I look at content a little bit differently. I like to do live performance. I don't like edited, polished, scripted YouTube videos. I don't like fancy essays. I like to look at a camera and go. I'm currently working on a story about AI that I write entirely in my head, perform off camera, and then I'm going to look at this camera and go live on YouTube and Substack and just perform that story like a live audiobook, kind of like a stage play just done from my chair. Why? Because I think everything else is already being done. Everything else is already being tried. I think polished essays and polished audiobooks are already happening. I miss classic storytelling. Kind of like sitting around the table with your friends playing a D&D game or just telling a story or just doing something around a campfire. I want to get back to being able to tell stories live, the art of it, the improvisational spirit, the non-polished nature to it, the actual feeling of talking like we're having a conversation. I want that. That's what I miss. So today, I'm not exactly doing that story. Instead, I'm doing something else. Several people in my life, shout out to Lewis, shout out to my mother, have said, look, in the meantime, just put content out there. I'm like, oh, that sounds grimy. I don't want to do that. They're like, all right, put content out about stories. Your whole channel is Story by Joe. You love stories. Talk about stories that you love. I'm like, all right, I can do that. And today, I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about one of the stories I absolutely love, Jurassic Park. There are 4 stories that I truly love, 4 movies that I could watch any time of the year. That is Jurassic Park, only the first one from 1993. I'll talk a little bit about that. Lord of the Rings, any one of them. Star Wars, a couple of them. And The Nightmare Before Christmas. Today, I'm going to focus on Jurassic Park. Just the movie, just the one in 1993. Let me give you a quick overview in case you've never read the book, never seen the movie, never jumped into the series. That's okay. The whole premise of the story is there's a guy named John Hammond who has a company full of investors' cash, VC cash, and he's decided to lease an island off the Costa Rican government and create a biological preserve like never before seen. Using fancy technology, they were able to figure out how to recreate and actually birth dinosaurs. And they've built a zoo on that island. Using as few humans as possible and relying on technology, they decide to go ahead and create a theme park where you can take a tour through a guided vehicle and see a whole bunch of dinosaurs. There's plans for rides and interactions and restaurants, but really the main pitch is fly to the island, stay at a hotel, and get to look at all the live dinosaurs. There is a death. His investors are nervous. Insurance companies got questions. So he decides, okay, I'm going to grab a couple dino experts, a few scientists, a few leading people in their fields, and we're going to go and we're going to take them on a tour to show how safe the island is. Long story short, island not safe, dinosaurs get out, people die, people go home. Not a great idea. Now, that's just a Cliff Notes version of the movie. And some people are going to say that's what the movie's about. It's not. Jurassic Park has meant a lot of things to me over the years, and I kind of want to talk about the stages of my life and what it's meant through each of them. In the first stage of my life, when I was a child, it was about playing the VHS tape. Someone gave it to me, I forget who, and I put it on so much that my mother to this day cannot watch it. Now I'm going to force her to watch this content now that the audio works, but I'm going to force her to listen to all the stages of my life and why this has mattered to me so much. As a kid, it was just the pure joy of dinosaurs are cool looking. For the first time when you watch Jurassic Park and they are in the Jeeps and you're on the island with them and you're experiencing it kind of through their first person perspective and you see that big, tall, giant dinosaur that you don't know the name of and it's just amazing and the camera pans up and Steven Spielberg chose to shoot it in tall frame on purpose so that you'd see everything and the 3D effects still look so good because for some reason it's kind of timeless. It's amazing. The first time you see the T-Rex break out, the first time you really watch the raptors hunt, I mean, it's just everything about it was so amazing. It's just cool. I didn't know anything about the complex science. I didn't understand any of the moral or ethical implications. I didn't really know what they were doing there. Who cares? You fly to a dinosaur island. You have fun. As a kid, my mom bought me this tape deck that you could record into. It was one of those like little carry it with you. It's got the microphone. You can play tape. You can record tape. And I would actually record myself reciting lines from Jurassic Park. I loved it. I loved the movie that much. I could just quote the lines. As a kid, it was just fantasy and wonder. It was amazing. And I miss that stage. Nothing really provokes fantasy and wonder anymore like that movie did for me. There's not a lot of things that I find that level of just unashamed joy and amazement in, like I used to as a kid, like watching that movie, like pretending that was cool, just wanting to be a part of it. I can't connect with things today in the same way. No TV show, no movie has given me that level of joy as being a young kid just wanting to see dinosaurs. Nothing's come close. There were other movies as a young kid. Obviously, Star Wars was big, Nightmare Before Christmas, and a little later in life, Lord of the Rings, just because of how old I am. They're all big and have important parts, but Jurassic Park, I think, was the first big one for me. As I aged, I started a career in IT, and the movie became a little more obviously painful. If you've ever been in IT, even for a single day, if you've worked in a big enterprise company when you're a nobody, that's one thing. But if you've been the small shop guy, I did a lot of enterprise work, but I also did a lot of small shop guy. When you're the guy who's responsible for everything, you look at Jurassic Park a different way. It begins to fatigue you. You could also say the story of Jurassic Park is one between Dennis Nedry and John Hammond. Dennis was what we would call today a full stack engineer. He was responsible for coding. He was responsible for systems integration, for the SCADA, for the actual edge case operational technology, to throw your fancy LinkedIn buzzwords. Basically, if there was a security door, an electric fence, or a park system, he had to interface with it before APIs were popular and there was easy documentation online. He had to write code, which was Python. Let's not get into that right now. He had to write, actually, I don't think it was Python. I think it was Objective-C. He had to write code back in the day. It was sample code on his screen, and you could tell it was a little funny, to integrate all those systems. So the movie was trying to pitch him as the end-all, be-all, 10x engineer, full-stack main guy. Well, it happens in real life. There are a lot of small shops that only have 5 or 6 dudes, and a lot of them, guys and girls that have only one focused area of responsibility, but it's huge and no one else knows what to do about it. Like, that's real. You could argue Jurassic Park is an IT disaster. We didn't have accountability with engineers. There was no governance, risk, control, oversight. Nobody was monitoring him to see what he did. And when he felt like he wasn't being valued, rather than just leaving the company, he decided to screw him on the way out. He stole some intellectual property, sold it to someone else for some cash, and shut down all the control systems. I mean, that's not that far from real life. People do that when leaving an organization. Like, that's a common thing that happens. So I get that. I get what that's like, and I get that perspective. I don't want to do it, but I know what it's like to be the struggling IT guy that just doesn't feel valued. You could argue Jurassic Park failed not because of, poor engineering, but people management, IT management. They failed to promote their engineers. They failed to take care of them financially. Now, he had his own financial problems. John alludes to that. He was mismanaging his money, but I mean, how many times has an IT guy left the shop where, yeah, he was super important and super valued, but just wasn't being respected and paid the level he thought, so boom, he's gone and everything falls apart. That story's common. So as I became a young adult, that's more the side I started to see to it. And I also became more, and when I'm teaching an IT class, like an adult learning class for a cert class, I absolutely bring up Jurassic Park's an IT movie. That's what we go into, and it stops there. It is an actual IT lesson that we can talk about. But there's also other arcs inside of it that as an adult I started to pick up on more. Dr. Grant. Alan Grant was a character that didn't want children, didn't want family, didn't understand the value of it. And by showing up on the island, they established multiple times, I don't like kids. Next thing you know, he's stuck with kids. Next thing you know, he's caring for kids. Now he likes kids. Now he's trying to be the family man. It's actually a beautiful arc. The scene where he's resting on the sedated Triceratops and he's feeling it breathe and he's going up and down with it and he's connecting with the kids and they're all happy. I mean, that's just magical. The first time you experience that, it's so cool. And every time I watch that scene, it makes me happy. As a young adult, I began to pick up more on the themes of family and why they're so important. And I got it. I understood it more. So I've got, the awe and wonder of it being dinosaurs, the family story that's actually being woven into it, which my mother hates. I'll always say, like, oh, do you want to watch a family movie? And she's like, no, because she knows I mean Jurassic Park. She knows I'm just trying to weave that in there. But it is. It's, to a certain extent, it's a story about family, which Michael Crichton didn't really have in the book. That was an addition of Steven Spielberg, making the movie more approachable to more people. And I think he took the right creative decision in that way, making it so. I think watching Dr. Grant transition to become a more caring and empathetic individual, solid plus, solid add to the movie. I like that. So it's adventurous. It's an IT disaster. It's a story about characters that are growing. I like that. But none of that's what Jurassic Park's about. It wasn't until very recently in life that I began to personally understand what that movie's about. Recently, I've been divorced. I am no longer living in the house I spent the past 7 years in. I no longer see my 2 greyhounds, whom I love to death, every day. I no longer see the person I used to be married to and live with every day. I recently lost a job. I did a thing I told myself I would never do. I left the enterprise world and went to one of those small, scrappy startup type situations and hated every second of it. Leadership would join a call at 9 a.m. and say, here's a directive. By 10 o'clock, the directive was changed. At the 11 o'clock meeting, they told someone else something. So us managers and directors would have to fight amongst each other for figuring out what leadership's latest version of the directive is and try to fight for their attention and fight for their time just to get things authorized and done. It was the least enterprise, well-led organization I've ever been in my life. Every day was nerve-wracking because there was no standard. Nothing was ever written down. It was chaos. And I did not do well. And I pushed back on leadership a little too hard. I told them no too many times. I kind of forced them to have accountability, and they did not like that, and I got laid off and let go. Luckily, the state of Pennsylvania sided with me that they didn't do a good job at it, so I've been able to rely on, a little something to take care of myself. But marriage, job, even just yesterday, I'm down to, a small few boxes of property in a car. And on the morning, I decided to get up and get a cup of coffee, thinking, oh, that's great. And learned how to get a $500 cup of coffee, because on the way back to where I'm staying, on the way home, I hit a deer out of nowhere. And that $2 coffee became a $502 coffee with the deductible. And luckily I have decent insurance, but nothing right now is stable. And I've learned that I am clawing and begging to get some control back in life. In the place that I'm staying, I spent weeks just fussing about where I'm going to put everything. I spent weeks organizing and cleaning and stacking to make things look mine. I've spent so much time thinking about all the traditions I've had in the past decade that I have to change to make new, because I need traditions. I liked control. And when I didn't have it in marriage, it went south. When I couldn't control it, it went south. I love having control at work. And when I was dealing with people that cannot be controlled and are just a force of chaos with no sense of organization or any type of logic to them, it drove me crazy every day. The day I got laid off, I felt relieved. More so than I felt at work in a long time. I need control. I need it. I look at my life. I need it. I like driving my own car to events. I hate carpooling. Why? Well, because what happens when I want to leave? What, I got to go to my buddy and be like, hey man, I want to leave. Do you want to leave? No, I want to just leave. I get in the car and leave. I love that. I don't like driving people with me places, because what if they want to stay and I want to leave? I'm an extrovert. I love people. I love telling stories. I love going to parties. I love socializing. But there's times where I just want to leave. It's a form of control. If I'm not comfortable where I am, I can just get in the car and go home. I've noticed of late that silence can often be awkward. If I'm sitting quietly, I have to think things. I have to feel things. I don't like that. So I try to control that. I put on a podcast, put on a song, put on something. On Substack and YouTube here, one of my lives I did with the creator Mel, she brought up the interesting fact that, we don't even spend time in silence anymore. We don't even sit quietly. I try to control and suppress my own thoughts and feelings and change them and subvert them with others, because I don't like sitting in the awkwardness at times that comes up inside of me. I even want to micromanage my body's own reaction to reality. That is how much I love control. I love it. Jurassic Park is a movie about control. A group of really well-intentioned individuals thought they could control things that are just not possible to be controlled. Someone might counter-argue, well, it was all working until Dennis Nedry sabotaged it. No, it was sabotaged from the beginning when they thought it was a good idea to give it to one person who can be swayed by outside forces like money, success, and escape. Now you don't have control. That's what that story's about. Michael Crichton self-inserted himself through the character of Dr. Malcolm, who was a mathematician, and that's sometimes annoying. That portrayal of him was a beautiful portrayal by Jeff, but at the end of the day, the character can be annoying. His chaos theories and all the other nonsense he spewed out, which at times was a little overplayed and constantly brought in, the whole point he was trying to make is, look, control's great until you don't have it. And control at this scale is not possible. I can control little things in my life. I can't systemically control the world around me. Jurassic Park was an attempt to do that. It was an attempt by humanity, well-intentioned, educated scientists and engineers, mathematicians, business people, investors, insurance people. A whole bunch of humans got together and said, we're going to make this safe for everyone. And it took one person tempted by outside forces that they couldn't control based on needs that they had to bring the entire system down. When Dennis Nedry's financial problems tempted him to make a choice that was wrong and bad, people died. The park failed. That's what that movie is about. When they say life finds a way, it really does. I'm sitting here in a situation where I can't control anything in my life right now at all. I am dependent upon so many other systems, relationships, people, settings, just to survive, that I have no control left. None whatsoever. In the island, towards the end, as Hammond is sitting with Dr. Sattler, the power's out, so the freezer's gone down, so you might as well eat the ice cream. They're sitting at the dining table in the main facility, eating through the ice cream. He's telling her the story of his first, fake little trapeze act when he came to America and how he started his businesses. He began to talk about control, and she goes in this beautiful, eloquent rant about how they never had control, how they didn't respect the power of the facility, and now that it's out and gone, they're just worried about the people they love and the lives at stake. And it's a beautiful story. When all the systems of control around you fail, you realize that you can only do one thing: take accountability for the people around you and how you act towards them. That's it. Go fight after the people you love and protect them from the dinosaurs. Be a positive influence in their life. The only thing I can control right now is not the people in my life. I can't make people stay with me. I can't make people engage with me. I can't make people want to be around me. But what I can do is take accountability for how I act around them. What I can do is take accountability for the relationships I choose to invest in. What I can do is take accountability for how I love on people. It's taken me 35 years and a life completely destroyed to pull that out of Jurassic Park. And that has literally been in front of me my entire life. I've always had the book. I've always had the VHS. I've always had the movie. I've always had the stories. I've had the collectible dinosaur toys, the Hammond collection bought at Target, Jurassic Park T-Rexes and Velociraptors everywhere, all over my room, all in my life. And until I decided to start these creative projects and do these video essays, I never really sat down and began to appreciate that I can't control nothing. And the more I try to build systems of control, the worse things get, and I just have to be responsible for me. I just have to fight for the people I love. I just have to continue to invest in them and care about them. That's the only thing I can control, my reaction to the world around me. 35 years. I'm not an intelligent person. I'm a slow learner. I lack wisdom because it's taken 35 years to see it in that movie and to get there. I know this isn't a big, beautiful, polished video essay with lovely transitions and clips and, the theme music from John Williams, that epic score that evokes such emotion. I know this isn't one of those large, epic 3-hour video essays that I love to consume, don't get me wrong, where everyone talks about how, oh, did you see in the movie how he took the 2 female buckles and wrapped them together to secure himself in the helicopter? See, that's life finding a way. It's foreshadow. Okay, great. Every film student's done that at least once with Jurassic Park. The big takeaway for me is that it's a story about people. There's nothing to do with the dinosaurs. They're there because they're cool. They're there to create a setting. They're there to add danger. But that movie is people just figuring out what's important in life and then trying to cling to it while they still can. That's my takeaway from that movie. That's why that movie's my favorite. That's why that movie speaks to me so hard right now. And when I watch that movie in my head, when I close my eyes and think about it, I've already lost people. I've already lost ones that I love. I'm now just fighting to maintain the one I still have and chasing after the ones I think are important. If you take anything away from today's video essay, cherish the relationships you have, love the people in your life. Don't be afraid to acknowledge you can't control a lot of what's going on. Take responsibility for what you can, which is, at the end of the day, just you. That's why I love that story. I hope you get to see it in a different way. I hope you get to watch Jurassic Park and enjoy it now, like I can. Because even after all this, I'm still going to keep going. I'm still going to love it. I'm probably going to watch it today. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please do actually comment. I read all of them and try to engage with everybody. I'd love feedback. I'd love to have a dialogue about this. I absolutely would. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for watching.